Allah like this.
What's goody, y'all? Welcome back for another one. This is Love Like This Lovecast, the before, during, and after of falling in love. And once again, like I said before,
proper sip, bruv.
Milah is not here, baby. It's just me again. I told y'all I'll fire her from the show. She is not coming back.
Lord.
She's out of here. That Negro couldn't keep up anyway. This is one man show. I'm going Beyonce on them.
You going?
I'm going Beyonce on them.
Leaving the group.
I'm leaving the group too. We are back again for another special episode with another special brother, another friend of mine. I am really diving into what it is for men to know and show love. And I really just wanted to kick back and just kick back and talk to some friends about their experience with love growing up. I have my own experience, and I realized that I've seen other families and things like that and how they grew their boys, but I never really know from my friends or anybody that's experienced, anybody that I know personally experienced growing with love in the household and how it's affecting them through life. So I thought it was a brilliant idea to bring the men on and have conversations with them.
Fair point.
I am terrible with intros, but I want you to intro yourself because another friend of mine is here today. His name is Monroe. He is a life coach. He is still a military man or former military man. But please tell the people who you are.
Of course, Monroe Staples. Go by what was gonna be Coach_M.Rowe, but it's now just going to be Coach.Staples, right? So it'll be that, and I'll come back to that at the end. But life coach, certified personal trainer, 16-year Army veteran, 4 combat deployments, and in coaching, I specialize in helping modern men be proud of themselves and to redefine masculinity and manhood for themselves, right? And a healthy dynamic, right? And so that's who I am. That's what I'm about. It's just seeing our brothers and seeing the collective of men, the brotherhood, actually uplift themselves and actually show up better in society and create safer and healthier spaces for everyone to exist in.
Well, you heal the men, you heal the place, you heal the space.
There you go.
This is just really what you need right now. You need more men in the world. Because Jesus Christ, the way the world is going. Well, before we can get into the love and everything like that, what's something that made you get into, well, it's the obvious reason why we need to heal the men, but what is it that made you want to take up the mantle and be like, hey, I'm going to be the one to say, like, I'm going to help out this space right here with men?
I got sick and tired of my own shit, actually. So it took a lot of dabbling into the bros before hoes culture and the whole, run the streets and do all those things. And then you just hit that point where you realize there's no lifetime achievement award for being on fuck shit, being on bullshit, right? And you realize that the world's just going to mirror back to you exactly how you show up, right? And so it was just a lot of those reflections coming back that I didn't like the fact that that's not who I was authentically. Anybody who knew me as a kid, from the Midwest knows that I was already a lover boy as a kid, right? It was very, very much so, always about love, not necessarily like peace or per se people pleasing, but I was very just peaceful and just to myself and just a nerd, right? And so got older, got in the military, and then just kind of didn't have that guiding light as a man, coming up. You had male figures, but even they could only show up as best as they could, right? And so when you get in the military, you start being in leadership positions and you start seeing that for myself, a lot of my best mentors and leaders were women, right? And so, you're looking, it's like this is a male dominant field, and my best mentors, the most fearless, tenacity, like we about to go in here, kick these doors down and handle business, were women, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I actually admire that, but it was just like, when you seen the need for men to step up, all the men were the ones stepping away like, nah, that's too dangerous. And so I just took on all the elite roles of like, I'm cool with charging in the door and handling business and, taking on whatever any enemy kick out. And then it just kind of transitioned into the personal world. Like, well, that's cool in uniform. But then I started looking at the company I was keeping and was like, this shit ain't no different than in a uniform. Y'all motherfuckers is very questionable and I don't like it, right? And so it's like, okay, cool. Well, I can't complain about something that I'm also partaking in. So work on self, work on me, and then start doing that. When I got through life coaching cert, I was just like, started off with generally helping everybody. But then I realized like you help the men, create the safe place. And it
really trickles down in the right way.
It trickles down, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So in the Midwest, what was like your upbringing like as far as like marriage and love and like your parents' dynamic?
So there was that, I guess you can call it that trauma-informed, that trauma-based love, right? Like you could tell the love was there, but again, it's everybody operating in the best capacity they know how for what's there, right? But no one actually, if you think about, me at 36, so you take it back to that time, there was no thing called holding space, right? There was no thing called, it existed, but it wasn't in the household, right? Or emotional intelligence and those things, and regulating your emotions. It was just what you got is what you got, right? And so, there wasn't any married figures around me. It was just long-term relationships that all fizzled out, right? Okay. And then the external or auxiliary relationships to my family that were marriages, a lot of them ended up in divorces as well, right? So it was just a lot of people trying to figure out their way along the way. And so you really didn't have that model, but I knew for myself, I wanted a family, and it's that expression they say, if you don't come from a healthy family, make sure one comes from you, right?
Oh, I never heard that expression before. Wow, yeah, that's good.
And so, hearing that, it was just like, okay, cool. I have a responsibility to myself to continue to work on myself and make sure that I do the best of my ability to make sure healthy comes from me.
It's kind of like be the example.
Yeah, for sure.
Where in the Midwest did you grow up?
So I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, up until a certain point, and then we moved to Indianapolis. So we went from the country city to the country with the cornfields and everything else, right?
Who was we? It was you and your mom?
Me, my mom, and my two sisters. Okay. And then my second older sister, she had my nephew at the time, and then we all kind of settled there. And we go back and forth because my father was still, when he was alive, was still in St. Louis. A lot of our family was still in St. Louis. So we drive back and forth and still kind of, touch base of the roots and everything. But yeah.
So let me make sure I have this right. Did you feel and have more feminine love in your life growing up than masculine?
No, I would actually say probably more masculine. So my second sister, she actually ended up adopting me from my mom. Okay. So like if you look at my birth certificate, it'll show that my mom's age is 9 years old because it's a 9-year age gap between us, right? So and it's giving me hell with trying to do things like get a passport and everything like that, right?
You're like, hold on now.
Right. And so but my sister was very, as they say, in her presence was very masculine as she showed up. But her boyfriend over the years, who became like my brother, he was like my male figure. His father was like a father figure until he passed as well. And then his brothers kind of took me in as like a little brother to them. So I predominantly hung under them or my cousins, and so that's really the biggest influence. But household wise, it was a lot of women because my sisters and their friends, but I stayed outside a lot, played sports, street sports anyway. It's not organized. And, I hung around my cousins and those male figures a lot.
Did it help you, like, know how to maneuver, like, around women? Or did they, like, I don't know. The reason why I'm asking this is because sometimes, like, having a household of women can kind of taint your response to women. And I'm assuming, this is not statistical, I just feel like it could go 50-50. Right. Whereas you can be very catering to women, or you can know women so well, you could be on some fuck shit.
I would say probably leaning more towards that first one, the former, right? It was the heavily catering because, the men that were around, I seen that a lot of how they showed up was, their women would kind of be a little demeaning, to include, how they showed up and, in their versions of femininity. And so it was the men trying to run around and do their best and give their best, but it just wasn't enough, right? Yeah. And operating from those senses of lack and whatnot. And so I seen a lot of that. And so in my mind, to some degree, it was, a good man or a decent man will endure a lot of things that, could be, harmful or abusive to himself, but it's like you're trying to prove that you're that good man against voids that you never put there, right? And so there was that. But then you also have the other part, the latter part, where you do understand women to a degree. So it's like, if you want, you can be susceptible to the fuck shit, and you kind of take that to an advantage. So definitely heavier on the former side, but a little bit of both for sure.
I can understand that. As you as a child, or whenever you felt this, doing the whole moving around from country city to country, and being mostly predominantly around women growing up, what was your like first experience of love?
I I think we'll safe to say adult wise, we don't count high school, right?
Okay.
We don't count high school. So I would say I was in the middle, going towards the back end of my first deployment. So I was stationed in Germany, and it was with someone who was actually from my hometown in Indianapolis. She went to a rivalry high school, and somehow, some way, we ended up connecting. Yeah. And it's just a long distance relationship, and yeah, that's what it was. And then came home and took a trip from Germany after Iraq to back to the States, to the Midwest, Indianapolis, and we got engaged. And that lasted for the months and times that it did until it ended out.
And so you feel like your first time you found somebody like, oh, I can love and be with this person, right. Like it was more so in your adult life, and before that it was just...
I think it was probably about like 20. I think it was about
20.
Yeah, I was
20 military men getting married. The script is written, baby.
Right. Listen, fell right in line with that shit. It was like, we fucking got him.
We
fucking got him. Exactly. Yeah, that was it.
Would you... Well... You got married, and
no. So that one actually didn't get married. It was just engaged.
Oh, you got just engaged.
Just engaged, and so I ended up going to one of the more prestigious and like very rigorous schools in the Army. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about like 40% attrition rate. Right, it's super hard to get into the school. Just as hard, if not harder, to graduate the school and with the tab. And so, at that time, she came to visit after I graduated, and I'm dead tired and very just like hardened by war, because I just came off my first deployment, didn't have any decomp time. So emotionally, again, that whole holding space and being present and being aware wasn't there, right? And so neither of us at that young age navigated that appropriately. And so egos and pride and just hormones showed up as they did, and we split, right? And then from there I just went on the bitter nigga war path of just like running the streets and just...
I'm 20 years old, almost got married, didn't work out. I know exactly what I'm about to do.
Exactly. And so that's what that was, right? But I can say that was my first time, love, getting my little feelings hurt and all that.
Was that the first heartbreak, like yeah, or the heavy, the one that really mattered, the heartbreak that really mattered?
I could say for that age and that time.
Oh yeah.
And it was more so like tiers to levels to the heartbreak, because it's like you break your own heart because you're not showing up in your best authentic self and how you want to, but you so pride and ego ridden that you're just gonna show up with whatever that version is, right? And then that in turn creates a space for a woman to not feel safe and want to show up, and then she shows up as she does, and then it just goes back and forth. So now both y'all got your little heart broke because y'all want to be, arrogant and maniacal little assholes.
And 20 years old.
And
you want to be 20 years old.
Right, you want to be 20 years old, basically.
I want to take a little detour from your life, and I guess I never really have much combat veteran or military experienced people that I speak to, and then I'm taking a moment because I'm really thinking about it in my head, like how many people in the military really went through tours and wars, like people I know and I don't know much. What is it? I'm asking the first one. What is it like within the military? What is love like within that time? And the reason why I ask is because it's not a lot of love during war. Right. So that's all I wanted to know. Like, and I truly, being someone that's never experienced war or something that intense, I think of love and showing up every day and like maneuvering through like spaces where I can find the love in things to like get through it, or that, and that loving energy that you need to like get through the day and things like that. I don't see that happening in conflict, war, or the army and things like that. So that's why I asked, like, what is it like during that time? Or what is love or lack of like during that time? Actually,
to the contrary, it's actually more love than you think it is, right? But what that love is, it's in some forms it's based out of trauma bonding, right? Shared experiences, and so you end up developing this, this love for your brothers and sisters in arms, right? Where that the person to your left and right, that's who you have as a lifeline, right? So there's that form of love, like you say, like that every day, just like finding the love in everything, right? And so you have that love, but then, me and Babe were watching something, and it was like, I think the Martha Stewart documentary or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
loved it.
Or no, some movie, and it was like at the climax of most stories, right? You know that if there's a point where it's stuck, one of two things is either going to happen. Either someone's going to be fucking or somebody's getting killed, right? And that's really the hallmark of what it is. And so in that, you don't know, when the kill part's going to come.
Yeah.
So people would try to, find love, can't be fucking in Afghanistan or Iraq, but they try to find the love there, right? And so you'll see people will forge relationships in that, right? And then you get back to what we call home station, and you realize, like, depending on how much work they're willing to put in, it's like, no, it really wasn't, that kind of love. It was just, it was good
situational.
It was good for, numbing the trauma and to having a companion to get through it. But then you realize, like, it's not that. So it shows up in different facets from, I go as far to say almost is like platonic in some cases, but then a lot of that
platonic is a good word.
Yeah, but then sometimes that also gets skewed, right? That gets skewed and the muddled, and then it goes from platonic to play tonic, right? You know what I'm saying? And so it happens, but it does show up. Some people love the grit of getting up every day, so that love shows up differently, but it does exist. But also, to your point, it doesn't exist the way it does for what we call gen pop or general population. And so, I used to pick at my friends back home, like, we got to try to figure out love in, less than 3 years when we go to a new duty station or deployment. You get to be around the person that you're entertaining all day, every day. How you motherfuckers not figuring it out, right?
Yeah,
but then you get out and you realize, like, it's not the same. It's not the same at all.
And it's funny because it goes to show, like, how love or sexual sex, intimacy, all these different types of love, quote unquote, show up in any situation. I mean, and I truly didn't really see the connection between how love can show up, like, in these spaces where it's heavy trauma and heavy triggering and things going on, but I can now see and understand that literally no matter where you are, you can find a loving situation, whether it be healthy or toxic,
right,
whether it be triggering or traumatic, or however, you can still, something about us as humans just still find the love somewhere.
The desire for connection.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. One thing we will always have is that desire for connection.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that me and Milah had a conversation about before is that even in slavery, right, they still found a way, in the most basic way of saying this, they still found a way to fuck.
Right.
But they still found a way in this crazy, traumatic experience like slavery to sit down and form a relationship, to form intimacy and to be sexual with each other to the point where we want to, like, create a new generation even within this crazy scenario.
This is very true.
So,
very
true.
true.
Like slavery, war torn, like, we will still always find the love somewhere. Which I always think that we are meant to be loving, kind creatures.
Absolutely, unless there's or
another reason
or a genetic disposition from other things.
Other things. There are other things that affect it, but for the most part, we are loving.
Right.
Which is just crazy to think about that. Regardless of, and I think it's crazy to think about because even in toxic situations, toxic relationships, we still want that love and we continue in the toxicity because the yearning, Jesus Christ.
Yep.
The yearning for love and connection is so strong there.
True.
So the engagement didn't work out, so the marriage didn't go through. You are an Army guy, so I have to ask, did you ever end up getting married?
I have been married, have been divorced, right? Been there, done that, right? And had my experiences with it. But to that, though, it hasn't tainted my views of marriage and love, right? I definitely like marriage, right? Or the idea, the concept of it, right? But I've learned through trial and error that it's just a more so of a legal construct, right? You don't need marriage to actually, validate your love for someone, right?
True.
Right now it helps. It definitely helps and serves as its own container to facilitate and make it beautiful and make the ebb and flow of it that much more, easier, that much more enjoyable, right? But I learned, like, some people will wait until they get the ring and become an entirely new person. And you be like, I got to be shitting me.
Didn't see that one
Didn't
coming.
see that one coming. And then
Yeah.
sometimes you did see it coming, and you just ignored it because you figured if you put the ring on there,
It'll be fine.
it'd be fine, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and that's, encourage anyone.
Mm-hmm.
If marriage is your thing, get married. Be married. Just with the right person.
Oh, listen. The bottom line of it, it's got to be the right person.
Not just the right person. Your person.
Your person.
Your
the right person for you.
It's a lot of right people. They just may not be right, for you. Yeah.
No, that's a fact. I do have a lot of questions around this.
Yes.
One of the things is I was talking to friend Jake. We've all become friends in this tribe circle now.
Love Jake.
One of the things that we spoke about was marriage, and he was giving me his views on marriage, and I realized growing up and also speaking to him in that episode that we have different views on what marriage is. Like what I said to him was that my view of marriage was just lifelong commitment and whatever you agree on. Right. His view of marriage is more so the governmental paper type of way. So I want to ask you, what is your view on marriage? When marriage, it's like when they say they show you the paper,
right,
and it says marriage on it. What comes to your mind?
I actually sit between both because I've just, had the experience of just taking time to understand it all, right?
Yeah.
And so I understand the legality in it, right? And it's for taxation purposes, right? And so I see it as that, right? But then I also look at it for the legality purposes of, as a person who believes in taking care of his household and his woman, it's a necessity to some degree because it allows you to be able to legally ensure that the resources that you have planned and established for them are, accessible at all times. But then at the same time, I see it as it's a lifetime commitment, right? Yeah. But then I've gotten older and matured and realized that you can do lifetime commitment and not ever be married, right? In fact, I've met and know some people where they were some of the most healthily committed people and they never got married, right? And you would think that they were married, but they never got married. That's just how they move, right? And so I feel like it's a by personal choice, commitment and pledge if that's what you want to do. I don't see it as a good or bad. Again, it's about your person and it being something that's in line with you and in line with that person, and it's a collective alignment and desire.
You know what? I'm gonna give it to you because that was a beautiful response, and it is the right response, right? And it's also the response that I would have said. As you're saying that response, I can only think about everybody that goes and gets married because they feel like they want to put people in a healthy trap. Like, ooh, I need to make sure that you're going to be here for a lifetime. And you just saying it is not enough, motherfucker. Right. Take your ass and go get that ring, make some financial investments, and then do it in front of everybody. And so, I wholeheartedly, honestly feel like that is the resonating mind state behind marriage for people, is to make sure that you're not fucking around, because just saying it has seemed to just not be enough.
No, I agree to that. I would say that that is something that is probably a silent existence, especially being in the military, right? Because it's like you don't know the next time you're getting called off to war. Right. You don't know if you're coming back. Right. And so at the same time, like how the military operates is if you're not legally married, the military does not make a concerted effort to make sure that you're co-located with the love of your life, if that's who that is, right? So if, let's just say for you and Milah, you just got to LA and she's been living here for, 2 years already. You just got here 6 months ago. And they're like, oh, hey, she only got 6 months left on station. And then we're sending her ass to Germany, right? Yeah. And for some people, that plays a factor of like, well, shit, I don't know. If a Germany and LA connection is going to do it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You're just like, that means so those are factors that it's like, it shouldn't be that way. But I mean, it's the truth of it. Those are factors that play a role in it. Like, in order for me to, because then it's like, well, if she goes to Germany and you're not legally married, y'all gonna be spending a lot of money on flights, right?
Well, okay, so basically, right, and I'm not assuming or making any like presumptions. Marriage in the military is kind of like, how much are we committed to dating?
Basically, I never thought of it like that.
It's like, I really like you, and I really need to get to know you because you might be the one. And the only way I can commit to dating is by marrying you.
You are taking a very hefty and wild chance. Hell yeah, yeah, and that's what it becomes for a lot of people. And so you take that chance, you get married, and then it makes it. You think it would make it easier because then the military is like, okay, we recognize that you're married, so whoever's the most senior ranking person. If this is the duty station that we put you for, then the family goes with you as well, right?
Yeah.
But then you get there and you realize like we really ain't compatible or we really aren't aligned, but we both took that chance. So you want to try to work it out, but we're really not aligned and we're causing more harm than good, but we really want to try to work it out. And it becomes a thing.
Yeah. Because when you're dating, right?
Right.
It's like, she said that dumb shit, but she's still kind of cute. It's all good.
Right. Like, I can look past that. Right.
But now when you're married, it's like, oh shit, they just said some dumb shit.
Ooh.
Oh fuck.
What's the return policy?
Right.
My past 30 days.
Exactly. And it's just so funny because we're talking about love and marriage and like intimacy and all these things and how it just shows up in all these different spaces.
Right.
General population, within the military, in the countryside, in the city, like how people love and show up for love and show up with love is so different in all these different scenarios. And well, I mean, it would make me wonder like which one of these scenarios really show real love. But I'm as I ask that question, I'm answering and just saying like all of it is real, right? Whether I don't know if I'm going to live tomorrow or if I feel like I have the rest of my life in front of me,
right.
Like how I show up is different with the love and the marriage, but I still kind of yearn for that.
Yeah.
The other question that I want to ask you was, there had to be a reason. I mean, regardless, we all know the sacrifices and the pressure of marriage, right? So there had to be a reason why you did get married the first time, and I just want to know, like, what was something about that person that made you go, all right, let's take that step and go for the marriage?
I mean, you're talking again, still early 20s, 23, I think maybe.
You're 23. You had your heart broken, but you haven't written off love,
right? And so you know, it was a lot of she pursued a lot, and it's not me trying to like take no digs at women. She was like very much like, hey, you bullshit, and you need to give me that time of day or whatever.
See, I told you that so, backhanded commitment.
Right. And so, gave it that chance, and, what was presented was, the representative, as they say, right? So it's and it's not to say that, to this day she's not a great person, but it's like at that time it was like, oh yeah, I'm everything you think you're looking for and more, right? And then it's just that case of, you get married and you try to make it work because you liked each other so much in dating. You feel like the dating was enough to pledge such a large commitment, honestly.
Yeah.
It's not to say that I didn't love her at that time,
yeah.
of the version of who I was. Obviously, I was willing to take that chance, right? And so that's what it was. But to say, like, it was this true defining thing, right? Like, you couldn't find or do without it. I respectfully, I can't say that it was a defining thing other than just my continued openness to try to figure it out along the way, right? To try to figure out, something to come and it'll stick, and this will be worth the juice will be worth the squeeze, right? And that's what it was.
It'll get there.
It'll get there, right?
Just give it some time,
right?
I mean, our brains don't be developed until what they said. Was it the frontal lobe or the whole brain?
25 to 30 or something like that.
25 to 30. I wish they came out with that statistic a long time ago.
Listen, right? I could use that shit a long time ago.
Actually, now that we say this, men have been kind of right the whole time with the not rushing into marriage kind of thing. We've got to be right. Like, hey, listen, my brain not developed yet, man.
I don't know the type of decisions I'm gonna make. So,
and then,
give me a minute.
And growing up, I really realized that love and marriage and like commitment is really a compatibility thing. You can be the absolutely perfectly right person for marriage, and like you said, just not the right person for me.
So let me ask you a question. You say compatibility, right? Do you believe in the dichotomous conversation of compatibility versus chemistry?
Okay. Wait. What is the difference between? I understand compatibility. But what would make it? What would chemistry? How would chemistry be different than the compatibility?
To my understanding, chemistry is like those initial ingredients about one another, right? That that spark that interest and that spark that that connectivity.
Oh, like how
right?
we kind of like the same things.
Yeah, you know,
as opposed to I like what I
compatible.
like, you like what I like, but we can still
But
make
we
it
can
work.
find the harmony in it, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're asking me what's the chemistry versus compatibility?
Do you believe in there being a do you believe them to be separate, or do you believe them to be kind of intertwined and they just flow and feed to one another, if that makes sense? Or more so, do you think more people get together because of the stronger sense of chemistry as opposed to their actual being compatibility or not?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that yes, people go into things more so for chemistry than the actual compatibility. I just sometimes think that what people are feeling chemistry with isn't the other person but the situation.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
a good
like I think I have chemistry with you, but I don't. I have chemistry with your job. You work a job where I might not like being around somebody all the time. You work a job where I don't got to be around you all the time. And so I think that I can have some more independence, and then it works out well. But when I really get to know you, I kind of find out that you like to talk a lot.
Right. And
Right. So it's like it actually doesn't
now,
work.
Right, now this is lackluster because now you just want to shut the hell up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm making up a scenario right now, but that's how I think about that. People see people in certain scenarios and think that they have chemistry with that person, but you really have chemistry with whatever scenario you're in. I.e. war, right? You think that you're loving this person and you have some type of like decompatibility, but really what you have is the chemistry of I need to have your back, you need to have my back, and it's really pouring hydrogen and oxygen together, and then that's it. That's the only chemistry we have.
Right.
And then when you get into general population, you realize there's a whole periodic table.
Right.
And so that's how I would view it, that there are certain people don't really look at people look at scenarios.
Oh, I like that. That's well put.
Yeah, and not to say that there aren't times where people have chemistry, because me and Milah have great chemistry and compatibility. So, I mean, if you can catch somebody that has chemistry and the compatibility, hey, and it's healthy, like, you're good.
Listen.
But definitely for the most part, when it came to like times of my 20s and, yeah, mostly my 20s, I was realizing that compatibility was going to be my thing, and that I also can accept people for who they are.
Right.
Like, just show me who you are, and then I can maneuver where it fits and makes sense. I didn't mind if you were like, I don't know, if you were a chick that likes to be outside all the time, or if you were a girl that liked to be indoors, all right, and just, or if you're a person that had a lot of friends, or you're a person that likes to just one-on-one time with your person. Like, I'm a person that has a lot of friends, so I like to be around my friends and my girlfriend all in one place.
Right.
So it's like, it's just different things that had to come up for me to realize that compatibility was the way to go. And the reason why I think compatibility is the way to go in your 20s is because you're not really fully developed in your personality yet. So one of the things I think happens to people when they marry young, and cross my fingers, I always hope that anybody that gets married stays with their person and finds full love in that, is that we're essentially still growing. So the things that make us compatible changes weekly, monthly, yearly in my 20s.
Agreed.
So, yeah, in 23 years old, February, I'm a whole different person by 23 years old November. So, yeah, nothing changed. The marriage worked until I grew up 7 months older, and then now I'm just not that. I'm drifting a little bit away from that person that I was that you initially married. So, like you said, initially at the time of marriage, yeah, we were on the same page and we were compatible.
Right.
But compatibility in your 20s and compatibility in your 30s are two totally different humans. Yeah, it's really wild and crazy.
Yeah, it's a whole decade of experiences happening.
Yeah. And like I also believe that our brains are more fully developed now, where we can go, okay, I got it. I'm this person, and I'm looking for this person.
You spend your whole 20s slipping on oil in the aisle until you finally catch your balance, and you're like, ooh. Yeah. Ooh, shit, almost got me.
Right, exactly. And the only thing that I think is different as far as like making moves, or I would advise my daughter or my kids when they get older, is that heavy commitment part of your 20s. Like, you can date, you can commit to people, but just be very careful of anything that puts you in a deep commitment with somebody before you get closer to 28. Like kids, like marriage, and just actually verbal committing to a toxic or any type of situation.
Right.
God damn. That was nice. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Also, this is why men need to like sit down and have more conversations with men in elaboration of like these type of topics, and why I want to sit down with like other men and talk about love, because other than myself and my own experiences, I realized like, yeah, we all have way different ways of going about it. And I think that one of the things that's limiting us is that we don't talk about love with each other.
Yeah.
So now that we have gone through marriage and divorce, right, and you know, still not deterring you,
right?
Engagement not deterred, marriage not deterred.
Listen, we gonna keep pushing,
right? So, what is your views on marriage now?
You know, definitely wasn't a down and out, but it was, you know, I'm gonna take a knee and I'm gonna goddamn take a breather, big dog.
Yeah.
Like, shit.
Hold on, I need to take me off for a play.
That was a kidney shot. God damn. It's like, shit. No, absolutely. It's beautiful, and as you know, of all the things that I went through, and you know, the ups and downs and relationships and all the other good stuff, you know who the love of my life is, and you know I adore and cherish that woman.
Yeah.
And you know, she fucked around and gave me the green light that said you can put a ring on it, bitch.
Really?
Yeah, she didn't put a timeline.
No, I understand.
But
listen,
let me better clarify.
Okay.
She definitely told me she reframes, you know, and she's definitely open and receptive. Right, and
that's all I needed to hear.
You know what I'm saying? Listen,
that's all. You're open to it. That's all I needed to hear.
Right, you open, bet, right? And so, and again, I explained to her, like, if it comes at the cost of changing this beautiful, you know,
what we have already,
this beautiful experience that we have, then I don't want it. I don't need it. Right. What I need is for the essence and authenticity of who you are to remain intact. And you know, there is no marriage or cert or whatever or licensing that's worth losing, you know, this divine union that we have, right? And so it's definitely open, definitely something that you know, I'll definitely reapproach happily.
Happily
and blissfully.
Was that what you just said about like her not changing and stuff like that? Is that coming from the marriage trauma from past relationships? And I'm saying trauma not in the triggering bad way, but like, hey, I've experienced some shit and I want to make sure we're good here.
No, that's been my thing. Like you, give me the authentic version of who you are, and allow me to then create the space in the container that houses that healthily and safely, right? Yeah. And so my past has been, oh yeah, this is who I am, I think I want, and then you get with this person, they're like, yeah, nah, I really don't like that, or yeah, nah, this is really who I am, and you knew that, and I'm like, no, I didn't, because I asked you, and you told me asking you what does love mean to you is asking you philosophical questions that you don't want to answer, right? Yeah. Or you feel like I'm trying to be too deep, so it's just like, no, I didn't know that's who you was, because if I would have known that shit, I would have just kept it pushing more than likely, right? So, you know, my biggest thing is just authenticity, right? And once I can see that authenticity and I know how to operate it and how to actually like exist, then I'll know for myself if that's what I want, if that's something I can, you know, harbor and take on long term and all those other things. And so for this, it was just like, listen, I just want you authentically who you are. And that's just been the core of who I am. And I think part of that is because the as you said, the trauma part wasn't more so about the partners. It was more so about me looking back and realizing that I never gave myself that space and that container to fully be my authentic self. Yeah. And so because of that, you know, it's whatever version of me showing up to try to appease and facilitate that said relationship or marriage, right? But here it's like, from the jump, she was like, look, this is who I am, this is what you're going to get. And if you showing up anything other than yourself, good luck to you, my boy. You gonna suffer.
Yeah,
you gonna suffer.
It ain't gonna last long.
It ain't gonna last long. And so being able to be like, oh, this is just who I am. I'm just very grounded in just this. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. I fucks with that. And I'm like, and I love that, because however authentically you are as an Aquarius, turn up.
Yeah, that's one. You know what? Going back to compatibility. If it's one, because your woman is an Aquarius too, like me, and the one trait about one of the two big traits about Aquarius is we'll cut you the fuck off, right, if we really want to, and you gotta show up as yourself. Yeah. Because we want everybody to show up as their self so that we can know how we fit into this like piece or this world with this person. And one of the biggest, and that is compatibility. Right. And that's a that's always been one of my things. So to see Britt like maneuver like that, I was like, I get it.
Right.
I get it 100%. One of our things is 100% be yourself, and we will figure out how it'll fit.
There you
Don't
go.
worry about how you show up.
There you go.
Just being yourself. You just can't be a dickhead.
Yeah, no.
You can't be a dickhead.
Yeah,
But
and
for the most part, like we attract good people because we see the good in people. Bars.
Yeah.
I didn't want to.
That is bars.
I didn't wanna,
No, that's bars. And you know, and to the authenticity and compatibility part, one of the things that I told her, I heard it from a movie one time. I was like, I can say for this union, this is what happens. In the movie, it was like, this is what you get when you have unstoppable force that meets an immovable object.
Yeah.
And that has been like our kind of like inside thing all the time. So like when one is stubborn or the other one's like, this is how it's going to be, then it's like, okay. Do your thing, Jelly Bean. Okay. Right. All right. Cool. Yeah. Right. And you got to love that because it's like when it's all said and done, you know, this is a person who's supporting your authenticity. Right. And that means that they aren't coming from a selfish lens. They're coming from a selfless lens because they want you to have this moment of growth, because that's what it is. Have this moment of growth and authenticity. And, you know, we navigate it and figure it out from there.
Exactly. Yeah. I want to say in actually a very good way. I feel like I'm learning about love from you in a coaching like perspective. Yeah. Like, oh, that's how you feel about love? All right, well, let's take a seat and have a conversation. Listen. Yeah. But in a good way, one of the things that I got from Jake when we were doing an episode was how like love had to show up in all like not had to, sorry, I'd say that back. Love did show up in all aspects of his life. With his parents, with his relationship, with his career. And it's like if love didn't show up in these places, he just couldn't like get into it. And it was just like I just forget it. And I feel like with you whereas Jake may have been engulfed in love, you've been observant of love. And one of the different things that I think came up with you, and this is just me watching you as a friend and just like seeing how you maneuver and stuff like that. Go ahead,
do your thing.
One of the things that I've watched within you is that you've observed love within yourself, right? And the one thing that's comparable between you and Jake is that you have to have love within yourself.
Facts.
You have to be engulfed in that love, or you have to be the example of that love, and to know how to like give it off, or to explain, or to have, or to show up. Show up is the easiest way to say this. Yeah, how to show up with that love, and with you being so observant with the love within yourself. I think it's beautiful that you're able to take on this this position as a coach, and then help other young men and boys how to show up in the world and how to be loving creatures and stuff like that. Right. With that long ass fucking paragraph that I just said, I wanted to ask you, how do you define love?
It may sound very, very cheesy, but I define love as elemental. Right, primarily.
So there you go, that coaching answer.
Right, primarily it's elemental, because when you think about, you know, it's elemental for one, and then two, it's reflective, right? It's a mirror. Primarily,
Jake said the same thing.
Yeah. It's a mirror. Yeah. So, you know, elementally, when you think about it, and you know, it's cheesy because you have like the movie The Fifth Element, right, with Bruce Willis and all this other stuff, right? But it's like when you think about just the way the elements show up, water, fire, earth, air, right? You know, they're in their steady states, they are what they are, right? Whether it's a solid, gas, whatever the case may be. But then when they interact with different things, they become different versions of themselves, right? So water becomes ice, or, you know, through, you know, convection, it becomes rain, fire, you know, all these things. It has all these transformative and transmutation based, you know, moments, right? And so is love, right? And then even still, when you add certain, you know, variables against them, they, you know, power cars, they power homes, all these things, you shower your body, right? It's very much so like that. Love is like very alchemic, right? And it's how you learn how to balance that alchemy in yourself. That's where it becomes the mirror. And so what you're able to temper in yourself in that love, and be observant and be well practiced and loving of self, that's what you mirror externally, right? If everything is in alignment. Now, sometimes people are just assholes, right? And you can do all the alchemy you want internally, right? And
Yeah.
an asshole gonna be an asshole,
That's all.
right?
Mhm.
But that's also its own alchemic, formula as well, right?
Yeah.
This is pure heart coupled with asshole. What's the equation, right? And you look
Yeah.
at what you get from that. So I look at it as those two main things: is it being elemental and then it being a mirror, because even elements still show up by way of action and verbs, right?
Yeah.
Water, rains, fire burns, right?
Mhm.
It's still verbs, are still action based.
Yeah.
It's an element, right? If that answers your question.
Hey, listen, player. You gave an answer, and that was the answer to the question.
There you go.
With this knowledge that you have now, I mean, and the reason why I say knowledge is because to become a coach, you have to engulf yourself, or you have to really get into knowing a certain amount of things about a certain amount of things. So the knowledge that you have pertaining to like people and love and stuff like that, how are you going about treating people now?
As a reflection of self, right?
Mhm.
In love and kindness. But at the same time, when I fuck up and I do something that I, either is unintentional or is not in alignment with myself,
Yeah.
I'm rather hard on myself. And, but I have to give myself grace,
Yeah.
right? And I love myself for that. And in the same way to friends and family, right? Like if you fuck up, like, hey, okay, you need to tighten up, could have did better, right?
Yeah.
But I'm still going to meet you with grace and compassion, because the human experience is not monolithic, right?
Mhm.
The human experience is very much so alchemaic.
Yeah.
And very much so a reflection, right? And so you have to honor people's reflection, because we both can stand in a mirror and be like, okay, I'm fly. Well, we both stand in a mirror, we both fly, we just fly in different capacities,
ways.
right? And so you have to honor that, right? And so that's how I go about treating people, but also understanding that everybody isn't deserving to a degree or meant to be treated by you.
Yeah.
They may be meant to be treated and deserving in their own right, but not necessarily by you.
It's wild. I had this that exact same thought today but about happiness. And I was like, yo, you really just can't make people happy in this world. You can do things that make them feel happy, but to make them happy itself, like as you may be like, oh man, I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling gleeful. I was like, wow, the only way to do that is be an example itself. And I was putting myself through like scenarios like, oh, if I get a gift for this person, that'll make them happy. And it's like, nah.
Right.
The gift will, no, if I get a gift for this person, then they'll be a happy person. It's like, no, the gift will make them happy. The gift won't make them a happy person. They won't engulf it. They'll have something and they'll be happy with it for a moment until the next thing makes them happy, or like and then you're in this space of like continuously trying to fill this bar, fill this level, or fill somebody up with happiness, instead of just being an example. And then I switched to, oh well, maybe if I'm an example of happiness, then people always know I be feeling fine when I'm around this guy. I'm happy when around Orlando, or like I feel good vibes when around this person, and that's engulfing me with happiness. And hopefully they take that, they see that, they mirror that, they take that on, and whatever I'm doing,
they want to embody that.
They want to embody.
I like something that you said, because you said that you tried to make a person happy, right? Or you tried to do things that make a person a happy person, right?
Yeah.
And part of the thing of that internal observation of self and love is you can't make anyone anything, right?
Yeah.
And when you think about it, when you cook, you're making a dish, right? That's because you have and know all the ingredients you need to make that dish.
I've taken all the basic things, broken down, and put it together.
When it comes to the human experience, no one of us has all the ingredients that are necessary to make a person happy, because their life experience is their own, right? And so you can't make that person happy. You can only do things or exert certain behaviors and actions that will elicit certain emotional responses that we believe to be in alignment of what happiness looks or may feel like for that person, right? And so all we're trying to do in our human experience is just show someone like, hey, I care enough that whatever happiness looks like for you, I'm trying to elicit that from you, because what love looks and feels like to me is a space of where you get to be enjoyed and celebrated and feel the more, euphoric based emotions and experiences, right? But when we get to that point of just understanding you can't make someone that's a partner, kid, parent, whatever, you can't make them happy, because you never were in possession or the owner of those ingredients to their happiness. The only thing you can do is just Add a little flavor. Add a little
Add a little flavor.
Add a little bit of Creole seasoning to it.
Add a little hot sauce.
A little sauce, right? A little hot sauce to give them some water.
Yeah. Oh man. And if you're listening to this right now, if you want to go back and take the word happy out and put the word love in,
there you go.
It's still the same thing. It's still the same thing. You can't make somebody feel, I guess, engulfed in love.
Yeah, you can't make someone love you. You can show up with your authentic self, and how you show up can and should be a mirror for them to see what love should look like in and on them.
There
right?
we go.
There we go. Because you said that.
I did. We said that. My favorite question.
Yes.
For when I'm doing this, and I wrote this down because it's something that came to my mind and I didn't have the answer to, so I wanted to ask other people. How can men handle love better?
Master the love within. As easy and as simple as that is said. I realize a lot of men will try to master and conquer everything externally, just so they don't have to deal with the work that needs to be done to conquer internally. And so men will conquer what it takes to sell stocks, get money, buy and sell cars, have the best clothes, they will conquer all the things externally. You tell the man to sit with his feelings and be able to articulate. They can articulate stocks to you. They can tell you when it's going to peak, when it's going to fall. They can tell you who's the best dunker, best three-point shooter. Motherfuckers tell you sports all day in, day out. You tell them, hey, what are the deepest, darkest parts of yourself that you've had to triumph and work through? Oh, well, men ain't supposed to talk about our emotions.
You're doing too much, my brother.
Yeah, you're doing too much. We supposed to hold it in and bottle it in. But it's like, who told you supposed to? And then again, if you were told you're supposed to hold it in and bottle it in, why did you allow that to be a truth for yourself, right? Because it's back to that mastery of self-love, right? And
that is a good point.
And so there's a book I told Babe about called, I think she read it a little bit too, it's called The Mastery of Self, right? It's by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. And in this book, it talks about how human beings are the only animals that self-domesticate, right? And it goes through this, this story about like how a kid is eating and his grandmother is like, eat all your food, and the kid's like, I'm full. And the grandmother's like, well, you still got food in there, so you need to sit and eat. And the kid's like, I'm full. And the grandmother's like, well, if you don't eat, you're not gonna grow up to be big and strong. So you're already being conditioned and manipulated to do something that is in contradiction of yourself. And then he's like, I don't want to eat. And grandmother's like, well, if you don't eat, you can't get down from the table, right? And the kid's like, I don't want to eat. And the grandma's like, okay, cool, go outside and give me a switch, and I'm gonna whoop you. And so what happens is this kid then grows up with this now conditioned mindset to be gluttonous. And overindulging in everything, and then this kid develops an eating habit and high cholesterol, and now subjects himself to things that aren't healthy because he chose to accept this programming of how you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to exist. And it's the same for men, right? Like we see these things, whether it's movies or the men around us that we grew up in, the cultures and generations before us, and we accept it, but no one ever stops to sit and be like, or no one, in this case is men, don't stop to sit and say, I see the world around me and I see it's not reflective of what I believe in and what I want. I don't feel safe in it. I don't feel safe in my own skin or who I am. But then they stop there. They don't want to stop and say, well, what can I do for myself to establish safety and establish security and establish, what I need and want to be self-soothed and satisfied? Because once I do that, then I can show up in the rest of the world and be an example, right? And so for men, it's the mastery of love, self-love, mastery of being proud of self in a healthy capacity, right? And I think once men begin to do that and begin to love themselves, then I think that's when you start seeing the change in a ripple effect, because then you become intolerable to other men or other people that don't align with that. So bottom line, men, love yourself. Love yourself and figure out what that means to love yourself. And if you don't know, Coach got you. Coach got you. Listen, follow Rafiki. I'll show you the way.
please help us. And as you were saying that, what was popping in my head was, what was the reasons why I indulged in toxic behavior or toxic masculine things that I was told when I was young. And it is that fear of something else, or fear of whatever is going to happen to you that happened to you when you were a kid. Like, you grow up and you're having this eating disorder, but, you know, grandma's not coming to beat you with a switch. So now you're just doing this yourself, right? And your body, like you said, is trained to, like, go through and just do these things because of where it started. And I think about how my fear of moving away from toxic masculine mind state was like just being made fun of or ostracized or being like an outcast. And I think that's one of the fears of like boys, is not fitting in,
right?
Like, or not, well, honestly, a fear just like of any human is not having community,
right? Exactly.
And so one of the things that made me feel fearful, and I can also see it making feel other boys fearful, and growing up into this toxic masculine mind state is making men feel ostracized and making them feel like they're going to be alone if they don't conform to this mind state.
Right. I like that. And so to my men, I would say, or to my young men, my young boys, ask yourself, sit with the question, why do you want to be accepted somewhere or amongst a group or a tribe where you're not encouraged to be your authentic self?
Well, yes, you should ask yourself that 100%. And I think that aside from that, if we can get to them even younger, we should make them know and feel like being your authentic self actually brings you closer to community, not further from it.
Facts. Because it's going to bring you towards the right community.
Exactly.
And it's going to keep you from doing self-isolating activities.
Exactly.
And all those other things. I absolutely agree.
Exactly. Because all the things that we essentially do that makes us feel masculine, or we're told that makes us feel masculine, is actually isolating.
Right.
Before we get out of here, and we've talked about love and spread the love across the world. We went to Germany with the love.
Listen, one continent at a time, one continent, one country at a time, right?
I want to ask you to take this moment, if you can, to dedicate some love to anybody in the world that you'd like to.
Normally, I probably could say I'd have a list of people I could even say, babe, right?
Yeah.
But I think in spirit of this episode, I want to give love to my inner child and the younger me, because that's a resilient and persistent little fucker.
Yeah.
And he has always had a big heart.
Yeah.
And as many times as the world has told him or tried to stomp that flame out, he gets a little beat up, tattered, but he still picks up the torch and he continues to be a trailblazer and a pathfinder, right? And so I love you, little me. And I love your continued persistence. And it's not a thing out of arrogance, anything. That's just me, again, showing up as an example of why it's important to love yourself and acknowledge that love for yourself, because people will tell you they're, as an adult male, that they're happy for all the great things you do here and now. But a lot of people forget to congratulate or thank or love on that version of you that had to endure all of those things to, keep that baton going for you to get to where you're at now.
Oh, man, that was beautiful.
Yeah,
that really just made me think about when I finally had that first conversation with my inner child like a few years ago. And for me, it was kind of like I'm taking my ball and going home.
Right.
Y'all don't want to play. Y'all don't want my love. I'm taking my love. I'm out of here.
Right.
Fuck you guys. But one of the things, when I took that moment to look at and talk to my inner child, like what I envisioned was this dark fuzzy ball, right? And it's like this. It's like the size of a room, and I walk into that ball, and it's just like a white room. It's like a those like the white rooms where it goes on forever. Like everything around, there's nothing around you. A room of nothingness, right? And it's just me, like as a child, like curled up, like holding my legs in a fetus position, just like looking at the floor, like you guys should do. So you like drawing us, take a stick and you're drawing in the dirt. Like that's what I'm basically doing. And that whole time, all I needed was somebody to just like be there at my side and be like, "You're okay." Yeah, that's really all I needed, and it made me think about like all the times where who I wasn't accepted, and I honestly was just a good kid. I was a good kid. I was a nerdy kid growing up in the hood.
Right.
Like,
right. Basically,
it was
check. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. So like, and it was to the point where what I was doing, I was being ostracized for just like being who I was, but I just could not conform to like the toxic shit and the dumb one. I was a smart kid, so I was like, this is just dumb. It wasn't about it being bad or toxic. It was just dumb.
Yeah.
So I was like, I couldn't conform, which made me feel even more lonely. So it's like from maybe anywhere between like 9 to 14 years old, I was also having like love and parental like trauma like happening during that time. But to bring it all together, I would just sit there and be like, all right, well, I'm putting my love in this ball. I'm putting my inner child in that ball, and y'all not getting that inner child. And so what everybody got for a long time was me from my teenage years and on. You're getting me with experience. You're not getting this childlike version of me. I'm mature, and I'm in mature love. And then when I met Milah and Luna, and I really went back and sat with like my younger self, and the reason why it came up and was because I was now around a child, and I couldn't remember ages 9, 10, 11, and 12, and I had to go back and remember, and I saw myself in that moment. And as you're talking about like going back to your inner child, I just remembered going back to my inner child and like finding that love again, and that love helped me be a better father, be a better person to me.
And it's beautiful. I love watching y'all, man. Listen.
Thank you.
You was doing your thing with karaoke the other night. I was like, listen, I was like, yeah, listen. But real life, Black Boy Joy is a very underrated thing, man. And so I love seeing, you know, men like express joy and happiness and playfulness, because the world expects and requires us to be hardened and everything. And so I was just, you know, I was looking at a post, and then I had a kind of like a logic, you know, download, and was just like, for men to boast about being logical, right? Because it's like women are emotional and men are logical, right?
It's not true.
It's like we're so logical that we'll continually partake in self-defaming and self-contradicting behavior. Yeah, that doesn't sound logical to me.
It's not.
You know what I'm saying? Like that doesn't. It's like, yeah, I know I want love. I know I want a woman to love me for who I am. Right. But I'm gonna keep doing player shit that keeps me from experiencing that love because I'm logical and I'm a leader.
Right.
Makes no sense.
It
makes no sense at all.
But this is why I'm realizing that you need people like you that are coaches, people like us that are having these conversations, because people just don't have the vocabulary.
True.
They don't have the regular vocabulary. The English vocabulary is very hard to know. They don't have the English vocabulary. They don't have the emotional vocabulary, and they don't have the love language.
Right.
So
that's fair. That's fair.
One conversation at a time.
One at a time.
Please let the look into the camera and let the people know where they can find you or anything, so they can get your coaching and love skills.
Hey world. First off, I love you back. But you can find me at what used to be coach_m.row, but is now coach.staples. And the reason being is just Coach Staples flows better. It flows better, and it's just more professional. And then Babe said so, okay? All right. And so that's where y'all can find me, and just DM me. Not on no silly shit, though. Business or fitness only, all right? I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, too. Thank you so much for coming and having this conversation with me, man. I appreciate it so much. You have no idea.
I love it here.
Y'all know what it is. It's nothing but love over here. The before, during, and after, and falling on love. On socials, it is Hoochie. On Instagram, actually, it's Hoochie Mom and Dad. Anywhere that you listen to or watch us is Love Like This. Milah is taking a break. Actually, around this time, she is prepping for the couples retreat.
Yeah.
Sorry. Take that back. Couples retreat is in the summer and June 14th. Around this time, she is prepping for the all women's retreat in Costa Rica, which is also it's a beautiful fucking experience.
Yeah.
But aside from that, you know, listen to us everywhere. Leave a like, leave a love, leave a review, subscribe. It's nothing but love over here, and
all love.
We love y'all. Peace.
La like this.